Okay, so welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into something I think we all deal with,
Yeah.
stress.
Ugh, stress.
How to manage it. We've got these two really interesting sources I think will give us a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
We've got this guide. It's called Managing Stress and Relaxations, like chapter by chapter, really in depth.
Okay.
And then we've got this discussion, I guess it was, from this thing called English Chat Lab,
Okay, cool.
where it was just people talking about their experiences with stress. So it's kind of a nice human element to go along with the guide.
I like that. Yeah, a good mix of practical and personal.
Yeah. And I think our mission today is to really pull out the most useful stuff from this.
Yeah.
You know, the aha moments, the things that are actually
Like
practical.
stuff you can actually use.
Exactly. To help you, the listener, better navigate those stressful times because we all have them.
Oh, yeah. Stress is like a constant companion for so many of us these days.
For sure.
I mean, think about it. The things that set us off, like you said, work deadlines. Oh, yeah.
The pressure of exams, relationships,
Yeah.
just the general busyness of life. Both the guide and the people in that chat lab really hit on how these everyday pressures they can leave us feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, like we're juggling too many things at once.
Exactly.
It's so true. And it's interesting because you've got the guide, right, which gives us a really good foundation and structure. So we can understand, okay, what is stress really?
Right.
What can we do about it? And then you have these real people in the English chat lab who add this layer of, oh, I've been there.
Like, I can relate to that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it makes the whole thing feel less, I don't know, clinical or something.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think what we're going to do in this deep dive is, pinpoint those things that really commonly trigger stress.
Okay.
We're going to look at a bunch of different relaxation techniques. I mean, everything from meditation and mindfulness to even just getting active, hobbies. And we'll touch on some key vocabulary
Nice.
that, came up in both sources, like words that people were actually using to talk about this stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, love it.
And I think it's really important to remember, and this is something that the people in the English Chat Lab really emphasized, that managing stress isn't just about like feeling good in the moment.
Right?
It's actually like this investment in your well-being.
Long term, right.
Yes, long term. So we're talking about better health, better focus,
Yeah,
just a more positive way of living.
totally.
Okay, so when we talk about stress, what are those everyday things that seem to get us?
I mean, it's not a huge surprise, but work is a big one.
Oh, yeah.
Deadlines, never-ending to-do lists, those tricky relationships with coworkers.
Yeah.
That feeling of just being completely swamped, that's classic work stress. And the people in that English chat lab were saying how the stress from work, it can bleed into the rest of your life.
Oh, for sure. Like you can't shut it off.
Yeah, exactly. Hard to relax, hard to sleep.
Yeah. And for a lot of people, school's a big one. Exams, tons of assignments, that pressure to get good grades. School-related stress can be super intense.
Yeah.
And they talked about the social stuff, too, in that chat lab, like friendships, trying to fit in. That's a lot of pressure, especially for younger people.
And then there's relationships, right? Conflicts with your partner, with family, friends. Those misunderstandings, they take a real toll on you emotionally. The guide even talks about how these kind of strained connections can lead to feelings of isolation, frustration, even guilt.
Yeah.
Like another layer of stress on top of everything else.
And let's not forget about money.
Oh, money, yeah.
Bills, saving for the future, and then those unexpected expenses.
Right, always something.
Always something. Yeah, it just creates this constant worry. Like, how am I going to manage all this?
It's like this constant background hum of anxiety almost.
Yes. So how does this show up in our day-to-day lives?
Well, both the guide and the English chat lab talk about some pretty clear signs. It's not just feeling overwhelmed, which we all know, but also things like being really irritable, feeling exhausted even if you've slept, trouble focusing, and even physical symptoms like changes in appetite, headaches, stomach problems. It all ties together.
Yeah, like it kind of ripples outward, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Stress in one part of your life affects everything else.
Yeah.
And the guide also talked about how it affects productivity.
Makes sense.
When you're stressed, it's harder to focus, make good decisions.
Oh, yeah.
You might procrastinate more, make more mistakes.
That's like your brain's just not firing on all cylinders.
Exactly. And then there's the long-term stuff, unmanaged stress, like chronic stress.
Right.
Both sources really emphasize how that can lead to a weakened immune system, which obviously makes you more likely to get sick. They talk about the increased risk of heart disease.
Yeah.
And then mental health challenges.
Right, like anxiety and depression. It's serious stuff.
Okay, so we know what causes it. we know how it shows up.
Right.
Now let's talk about why it's so important to actually manage it.
Yeah, why it's not just a nice to have, but really crucial.
Exactly. So they're really clear about this. Letting stress just run wild, long term, it has consequences for both your physical and mental health.
Right, as we were just talking about.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Weakened immune system, higher blood pressure, digestive issues, higher risk of heart problems.
And on the mental side, there's that strong connection to anxiety, depression, burnout, constant tiredness, being easily irritated.
Yeah, it can really affect your quality of life.
Big time.
And the thing is, and both the guide and the English Chat Lab people talked about this, when you manage your stress, it's not just about feeling calm for a bit.
Right.
It's about your long-term health and your overall well-being.
Yeah, like you're building resilience for the future.
Yeah, it means more energy, better focus, more peace of mind.
Exactly. And it really does have these ripple effects.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, think about it. When you're not constantly battling those worries, your concentration gets so much better.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know, even a big project that seems overwhelming, the guy was saying, it becomes way more manageable when you can break it down into smaller steps.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's about getting that sense of control back.
Okay, I like that.
And it's not just you individually, your relationships benefit too.
Right.
When you're less stressed, you're naturally more patient, more understanding, you can be more present with the people around you,
Yeah.
less likely to snap at them or get easily frustrated.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that exhaustion that often comes with stress. Managing stress can really boost your energy levels.
What do you saw that?
We all could, right? And then you have more energy for the things you enjoy. Hobbies, spending time with people, you can actually relax and recharge.
So you're not just running on fumes all the time.
Exactly.
I love that.
And maybe most importantly, taking control of your stress, it can make you happier overall. You feel more in control of your life, not just constantly reacting to things.
Yeah, like you're not just being swept along.
Exactly. And when that stress lifts, it creates space for more positive emotions, you get more motivated, it's like a whole different outlook.
Okay, I'm convinced. So how do we actually do this? What are some techniques we can use?
Well, one of the big ones that both our sources talk about is meditation and mindfulness.
Okay, so for someone who's never done those, what are they? And how can they help with stress?
So the guide describes meditation as this practice where you focus your mind, usually on something specific like your breath or a mantra, to reach a state of calm and clarity.
Okay.
And mindfulness is more about being present in the moment, you know, whatever you're experiencing right now, without getting caught up in judgments or worries about the past or future.
Okay, so being present.
Exactly. And the people in that English Chat Lab discussion, they talked about how mindfulness can become like a way of life.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and that meditation can be a great tool to help you get better at that mindful awareness.
Okay, so like a training ground almost.
Yeah, something like that.
What kind of exercises did they suggest?
Well, they talked about this really simple mindfulness exercise. You just focus on your breath. You don't try to change it, just notice it, the rhythm of it as you breathe in, breathe out. Maybe count to 4 as you breathe in, hold it for a bit, and then count to 4 as you breathe out.
Okay, sounds simple enough.
Yeah, but the key is finding a quiet space where you can do this.
Yeah.
And they said it's totally normal for your mind to wander.
Oh, I can imagine that.
Like, it's going to happen. The goal isn't to have a blank mind, but to gently bring your focus back to your breath whenever you notice it's drifted.
Okay, so redirecting.
Yeah. And another exercise they talked about was just observing your thoughts and feelings, but without judgment. Like, imagine your thoughts are like clouds passing by.
Okay, I like that imagery.
Yeah, you see them, you acknowledge them, but you don't need to grab onto them or analyze them. They just float on by.
Okay, that seems more manageable than trying to shut my brain off completely.
Right. The guide had some good tips for beginners, too. They said starting small is key.
Yeah.
Even just 5 minutes a day can be a great place to begin.
Okay.
And consistency is more important than doing long sessions once in a while.
Right.
So try to practice around the same time every day.
Like build a habit.
Exactly. And be patient with yourself. They said your mind's going to wander. It's normal. It's part of the process.
Don't get discouraged.
Exactly. And they also said guided meditations can be really helpful when you're starting out. You can find them on apps or online.
Yeah, there's so many out there.
Exactly.
Okay, so what about the benefits?
They're pretty amazing, actually. Both sources talk about how meditation and mindfulness can reduce stress by lowering cortisol levels, which is that stress hormone.
Okay.
They can improve your focus because you're basically training your mind to be more present. And they can help with your emotional health because you become more aware of your feelings without being overwhelmed by them.
Okay.
Plus, you get more self-aware. You start to see your thought patterns and how you react to things.
That's a big one.
Yeah, it can be really insightful.
Okay, so let's talk about exercise now.
Oh, yeah, exercise. It's not just about physical fitness, right?
Right.
Both sources really emphasize how good it is for stress relief. On a physical level, it releases endorphins.
Those feel-good hormones everyone talks about.
Exactly. And they can really improve your mood and lower anxiety.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced that.
And just like meditation, exercise helps to lower those stress hormones like cortisol.
Okay, so it's working on multiple levels.
Totally.
What are some good ways to incorporate exercise into your life?
Well, the guide and the English Chat Lab both mentioned a few.
Okay.
Walking, especially in nature, that can be really good for clearing your head.
Yeah, I love walking.
Then there's yoga, which combines physical poses with mindfulness,
Oh, yeah, the best of both worlds.
right? Helps you relax, improves flexibility. And then there's dancing.
Oh, I love to dance.
It's such a fun way to work out, and it can really boost your mood.
Yeah, I totally agree. But what if you're super busy?
Well, they had some tips for that, too.
Okay.
Starting small, even just 10 or 15 minutes of movement can make a difference.
Okay, that's doable.
Make it a habit. Schedule it into your day like an appointment. You can even combine it with other things like listening to a podcast while you walk.
Yeah, multitasking.
Exactly. And get creative. Take the stairs. Do a few squats while you're waiting for something. Every little bit counts.
I like that.
And remember, exercise has so many benefits beyond stress relief.
Oh, for sure.
Better sleep, more energy, stronger immune system, you feel more confident, and it can be a great way to connect with people if you do group activities.
Yeah, all good things.
Okay, let's move on to another fun one. Hobbies and creative outlets.
Okay.
How do those help us relax?
The guide explained it really well. Hobbies let us shift our focus away from our worries and get absorbed in something we enjoy. The English Chat Lab people, they talked about that meditative quality of repetitive motions in some hobbies, like knitting or gardening.
Right.
And that sense of accomplishment you get from creating something, whether it's a painting, a knitted scarf, or even just like a delicious meal.
Yeah, like you've made something tangible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What were some of the examples they gave?
Painting, drawing, gardening, playing music, cooking, baking.
Oh, I love all of those.
They even said to think back to hobbies you enjoyed as a kid and maybe try them again. There's often this feeling of comfort and familiarity there.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And it's that distraction that's so key. When you're really engaged in something you enjoy, your mind can't dwell on those stressful thoughts.
Like hitting the reset button.
Exactly. And creative activities, they engage your imagination, they can spark joy and inspiration.
Yeah. What advice did they give for people who want to try new hobbies?
They said to start small, don't try to be an expert right away. Be curious, try different things. You can also make it a social activity by joining a group or a class.
Yeah, that can be fun.
And they said to be patient. You might feel awkward or like you're not good at it at first.
That's normal though, right?
Exactly. The point is to enjoy yourself and relax.
And just like with exercise, hobbies have benefits beyond stress relief.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They can boost your creativity, improve problem-solving skills, build resilience. And the English Chat Lab people talked about how they add joy, meaning, and fulfillment to your life.
Yeah, and they can also lead to social connections if you meet people with similar interests.
Absolutely. Okay, what about other relaxation strategies?
Well, they talked about deep breathing.
Ah,
The guide explained that stress often makes us breathe shallowly and rapidly,
right.
which can actually make anxiety worse.
Makes sense.
But consciously taking slow, deep breaths can have a really calming effect on your mind and body.
It's amazing how much of a difference that can make.
I know, right?
The English Chat Lab people actually walked through a simple deep breathing exercise.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a really easy and powerful tool you can use anywhere.
Okay. What else?
They talked about journaling.
Okay.
Writing down your thoughts and emotions can be really therapeutic.
I heard that.
It helps you process things, get some clarity, and let go of those worries.
Yeah.
The guide suggested just starting with whatever's on your mind, whether it's your day, your anxieties, or even things you're grateful for.
So no rules, just write.
Exactly.
What about spending time in nature?
Oh, yeah, that was a big one.
I love that.
Whether it's walking in a park, hiking, or just sitting outside, being in nature can be incredibly grounding and restorative.
I totally agree.
It gives you a chance to disconnect from your screens and all the demands of daily life and reconnect with something bigger and more peaceful.
And it can be so simple, just stepping outside for a few minutes.
Exactly.
What about boundaries?
Oh, boundaries, that's a tough one, but so important.
Yeah.
Both sources talked about how overcommitting ourselves at work, in our social lives,
Yeah.
even within our families, can lead to feeling overwhelmed and drained.
Yeah, you have to know your limits.
Exactly. It's about prioritizing your own well-being, your time, and your energy.
Saying no can be so hard, though.
It can be, but it's a skill worth practicing.
And what about our social connections?
No, those are crucial. Talking to trusted friends or family when you're stressed can give you so much support.
Yeah, just sharing how you're feeling can make a big difference.
Exactly. And the guide also talked about support groups or therapy if you need more structured help.
Yeah, those can be great resources.
Okay, so remember how the Managing Stress and Relaxation guide had that whole section on key vocabulary?
Yes.
Why was having the right words to talk about stress so important?
Well, having a shared vocabulary helps us understand each other better
Right.
and communicate more effectively.
Makes sense.
They highlighted words like overwhelmed, which they defined as that feeling of having too much to handle.
Right, like I feel overwhelmed with all these deadlines.
Exactly. Then there's calm.
Like taking a few deep breaths helps me feel more calm.
Yeah, perfect. And they talked about breathe, but specifically in the context of relaxation.
Right, like when I start to feel anxious, I try to just focus on my breathing.
Exactly. And finally, unwind.
Like after a long day, I like to unwind by reading a good book.
Yeah, I love that. The guide even had a sample conversation using these words just to show how they can be used in everyday talk about stress.
Oh, that's helpful.
Yeah, it emphasizes how important it is to be able to express how you're feeling and what you're doing to cope.
Totally. It helps you connect with others and get support.
Okay, so I loved that the guide also shared those listener stories and tips.
Oh, yeah, those are really inspiring. What were some of your favorites?
Well, there's Maria who had this calming morning routine,
Okay.
meditation, stretching, and a cup of tea before her day got started.
Nice.
Ahmed did gratitude journaling every night.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, focusing on the positive things from the day.
Even on tough days.
Exactly. Lisa's really clever. She incorporated short nature breaks into her workday.
Oh, I like that.
Just stepping outside for a few minutes to breathe and reconnect with the outdoors.
That's so smart.
Carlos relieved stress by dancing to music.
I can relate to that.
And Anna had a weekly digital detox.
Oh, wow.
She'd turn off her devices for a whole day on Sundays to disconnect and recharge.
That's a great idea.
It was such a cool mix of practical tips.
Yeah, very relatable.
And the guide encouraged listeners to share their own tips, too.
Oh, I love that.
So it felt like a real community, everyone learning from each other.
So I guess as we start to wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
let's recap what we covered today.
Yeah, good idea.
So we started by talking about those common stressors we all face.
Right. Work, school, relationships, money.
Exactly. And how stress shows up in our mood, our productivity, our physical and mental health.
Yeah.
We talked about why managing stress is so important for our well-being long-term, all the benefits that come with it, better focus, stronger relationships, more energy, more happiness, more control.
Yes, all the good things.
We explored relaxation techniques, meditation, mindfulness, exercise, hobbies,
Right.
deep breathing, journaling, spending time in nature, setting boundaries, the importance of social connections.
It's a lot, but it's all important.
It is. And we talked about that key vocabulary. So
Yeah.
you have the words to understand and talk about your own experiences and what works for you.
Absolutely.
So for everyone listening, I think a really good first step is to just take some time and think about your own personal stress triggers.
Okay.
What are the things that tend to make you feel stressed?
Yeah.
Once you know what they are, you can start to manage them better.
Yeah. Awareness is key.
And remember, there's no one right way to relax.
Yeah.
We've talked about a bunch of different approaches today, so experiment and find what works best for you.
Exactly what resonates with you.
And don't forget how valuable it is to have the words to talk about how you're feeling.
Yeah, that's huge.
If you can express yourself, you can get the support you need and take those steps to manage your stress.
Okay, so for our listeners, here's a little challenge.
Okay, I like it.
In the coming week, Try to incorporate at least one of the relaxation techniques we discussed into your daily routine.
That's a great idea.
Even small, consistent efforts can make a big difference over time.
It takes practice, like any skill.
Exactly. And for a final thought, remember that stress is a normal part of life, but it doesn't have to rule your life.
Yeah, that's so important to remember.
By taking care of yourself and using some of these techniques, you can create more balance, build your resilience, and find more peace in your everyday life. Maybe even just think about one small, enjoyable thing you could do tomorrow to proactively manage any potential stress.
I love that. Start small, make it enjoyable.
Exactly.
Great advice.
Thanks for diving in with us today.
Absolutely, this was great.